Hey all, Heretic here. Today in the Battlegrounds, we're going to be talking about patch 30.6.2 dropping today about 1 p.m. Eastern time, because that's usually when it usually arrives. Of course, mobile players, I'm sorry, it arrives when it arrives. I have no control. I just report the news. If I did, I'd make a lot more money, right? Let's jump right into it. We're going to start with the lesser trinket changes, folks, because there's more than just the cost being changed. Some of these are just fundamentally being changed, and that's going to be a big deal. So let's talk about that. First, Goose Portrait used to be 4 gold, get a silver goose. After you summon 5 silver fledglings, get a goldenizer. Now, of course, that was the spell that would make a minion gold. And 5 silver fledglings was pretty easy to summon out over the course of a game. I don't know, 10, 20, 100 times. So yeah, was this good? Excessively. Is it gone? Well, here we go. Now it is 3 gold, get a silver goose. After you summon 3 silver fledglings, get a lucky egg. Now, for those who don't know, lucky egg is a wildly different thing. Lucky egg is a tier 5 2/2 that has battle cry discover a golden tier 3 minion to transform into. So that is wildly different from the previous make what you want gold after you summon 5. Now it's after you summon 3, you get a golden tier 3 minion. There are a lot of interesting tier 3 minions depending on your lobby, and getting a golden version of it's not bad, but it's not anywhere near the power level. Now, I would argue this is actually probably what it should have been. I mean, I don't know if this is what it should have been, but if we want to talk power differential for a lesser trinket, this is what it should have been over the other version. That being said, you could still make an instant lucky egg in the first combat after getting this relatively easy. So this is still good. It's just not dependable, and it's going to be kind of random because you're just getting a golden tier 3. Do you want to buy this? Well, it depends what other trinkets are offered to you, but it's at least an interesting option. Bleeding Heart stays effectively the same. Used to be Avenge 6, summon and get a random undead. It is now Avenge 7 and get a random undead. I mean, that's fine, right? There's no real functional difference there. One more minion isn't going to make too big a deal. My only thing that makes me sad about this is, while I know it was broken and I saw other people win with it dramatically, it was never offered to me. Not even once. So I'm a little grumpy about that. Just a little bitter. Fishy Sticker used to be 0 gold, start of combat, summon a fish of N'Zoth that copies death rattles. Is now 3 gold, get a fish of N'Zoth that copies death rattles. Now, this is a massive buff to this, and you might be going, what do you mean? This is the same. And I go, no, it's not. First of all, the other one was summon start of combat. What that means is that was a tier 2, no matter what. It always appeared on the far right side of your board, which means if I knew you were doing this, I could buy a tunnel blaster, blow up your board, kill your fish, and it might get a death rattle or 2 in it before it just dies and doesn't get to do ultimately what you want it to do, especially in the later game. But now it's a fish that you can position anywhere you want because it's a minion on your board. You can buff it so I can't tunnel blast it. You can make this a much more versatile minion now, as opposed to before. When I saw you were doing this, I could instantly go, oh, okay, counter it, or maybe just have bad luck, and because it's always all the way on the right of your board, it doesn't trigger anywhere near the optimal time, if at all. So it just kind of feels much more versatile now and feels a lot more viable. I like this change a whole lot. Bartendatron's oil can goes from used to be 0 gold at the start of your turn, reduce the cost of upgrading the tavern by 3, to now being 2 gold, reduce the cost of upgrading the tavern by 3 at the start of your turn. Repeat this. This makes this more viable because in the previous form, when you got it, it didn't do anything until the start of your next turn. Now it immediately will reduce your tavern tier by 3 and will repeat it like it did before. This makes this potentially more viable depending what hero you're playing and how you're feeling. That's not bad. I might actually take it now as opposed to before where I never really thought of it. Bunglemancer's sticker goes from being 0 gold to now 3 gold. That's it. Still good, just more expensive. Yogtastic Pastries had a slight change to it, the way it functions in the background, adjusted the average number of targets for Rod of Roasting so that it's more consistent. Yeah, it's pretty rare to see it, and it's hard to tell for me if it's consistent. Obviously, they saw something in the background Now, the question is, did they make this better or worse with the average? Because I don't know what the consistency was, because I saw it so randomly that way I would take Yogg-tastic and then that it would cast Rod of Roasting like once every 2 games, maybe. So to say it's a more consistent result is hard for me to gauge if it's good or bad. I kind of wish they just said like, hey, it used to do on average 3 and now it's going to do 5, or hey, it did 12, now it's going to do 5. I know it didn't do 12, but I just want to know what goes into making the sausage here, because you're just telling me you changed something, but it means nothing. It's like you almost didn't need to mention this because I don't know what it means. If you just give me a little example of what that actually means, more consistent. You know, I might be surprised with the results in a positive way if I knew what it meant. Foreshadow. Mystery Cube. Marine Signet has been removed from this pool. Yeah, no crap. Why was this ever in the pool? Folks, this is the one where you had to keep playing minions to upgrade it to make it worth having. And when it was offered to you, it was a dead option because it didn't do anything. It was dumb. Makes sense. Orchestra Portrait. This goes from being 3 gold to 5 gold. Charm of Generosity goes from being 4 to 5. Bottle Sticker goes from 3 to 4. An Investment Contract goes from 4 to 0. Rejoice, if you were one of the people who like this, it is now incredibly cheap. Lots and lots of greater trinket changes. Here we go. Fishy Sticker is now gone. You can't get the golden version of this anymore. This was the one I used to prefer, but considering the changes to the other one, I like this. This being gone would make sense too, because if you could buff this thing, even make it a little harder to kill, and now you can position it where you want it, it is just nasty. Shaman Prayer Beads going from being a greater trinket that costs 0 gold to, okay, it's kind of weird this is in the lesser trinket, the greater trinket section and not the lesser, but I mean, I guess it's confusing no matter where you put it, to now it is a lesser trinket that's 3 gold. Still don't really want this, but thanks. Yes, diluting the pool with something you should just remove is kind of my feeling on this one. Do you like this one? Does anyone like this one? Promo Portrait goes from being 4 gold to 3 gold, otherwise the same. Gilnean Thorn Rose going from Avenge 3, give your minions +3/+3 permanently and deal 1 damage to them, to now being Avenge 4, give your minions +3/+3 permanently and deal 1 damage to them. Feels good. This is an incredibly effective trinket. It is way too consistent in how good it is. If you get this, you're basically top 4, if not winning every time. So this makes sense. Let's see what this does to the numbers. Flag Bearer Portrait goes from old G'day Sky Pirate Flag Bearer, your Sky Pirates have +8 attack, to now G'day Sky Pirate Flag Bearer, your Sky Pirates have +6 attack. Makes sense, it was pretty strong. And why is that so hard to say for me? I don't know why, but Get a Sky Pirate Flag Bearer is just constantly wanting to fall out of my mouth in random shitty order. Or Calligraphy Set gets nerfed again, goes from 5 gold Avenge 4, your blood gems give an extra +2/+1 this game, to 2 gold, which is good, to Avenge 4, your blood gems give an extra +1/+1 this game. It turns out what it initially launched at +2/+2 was way too good. Who would have thought it? Oh yeah, most people. Primal Fin Portrait goes from 3 gold to 4 gold. That is fine. I still adore this trinket. You can make this thing 6 gold. I'm probably still buying it every time. Every time I've gotten it, it's so much fun. Hell yeah. Redeemer Portrait goes from 6 gold to 7 gold, which is very expensive. But considering how many free spells you can get out of this damn thing, I think this thing is amazing. I love it. So yeah, 7 gold, still gonna want to play with it when it's offered. Surprise Portrait. Surprise, reduce the odds of each outcome by a surprising amount. Okay. Now, this is a competitive game, right? We're not just talking about a random game. I mean, I know I have to deal with comments from some people here and there about children's card games and whatnot that I have to just deal with idiots with, but surprising amount? Could we be a little more vague? I mean, oh, I love this one. When I took it, it was a lot of fun. It was completely random. Now you could say it was fun because it's surprising. You don't know what the numbers are. And you're not wrong. There's a certain level of fun and mystery to it where you're like, when the hell is it going to go off? But at the same time, as someone who's competitive and wants to play a game well and understand the percentages of when I'm doing something, It's also incredibly frustrating not having a damn clue. That's why I use deck trackers. That's why I use things that show me percentages of combat results, because I like to get a feel for how things are playing out and what things I can change to adjust those numbers in the right way. But just saying they're surprising, well, this might not surprise you, but it leaves me a little frustrated. Minion changes, and we're starting with an absolute monster of a minion change. Papa Bear, everyone's favorite why is this here, goes from being a tier 7 12/12 death rattle summon 3 mama bears to tier 7 8/8 whenever you summon a beast, give it +8/+8. So yeah, this just went from kind of being a joke to kind of being badass. Are you playing beasts? Do you have this? Holy crap, sit this in the back and watch it buff the hell out of your tokens as you summon them. Goldrin, don't worry. We got something that can buff beasts now. Holy crap, that is pretty good. Team Master Theotar, who just triumphantly returned and isn't very effective, got a change. Goes from a 6/6 after you play a minion with no type, give 3 friendly minions of different types +2/+2 to now an 8/8. After you play a minion with no type, give 3 friendly minions of different types +4/+4. So they doubled the buff it gives. Let's see if the poor Team Master can finally be effective. Hummingbird goes from a 0/4 start of combat. For the rest of this combat, your beasts have +2 attack to now a 1/4 start of combat. For the rest of this combat, your beasts have +1 attack. I still don't love the change to this minion from what it just did before. I know there was a whole, but it can't be sniped now. And it's like, I still don't. I liked it when it buffed things that got summoned, and I don't like its new form. It makes me less interested in early game beasts just because of how it works for me. But I mean, what do you think about it? I just find this to be very lackluster. Goldrin the Great Wolf is not as great as he once was. Used to be a 4/4 death rattle. For the rest of this combat, your beasts have +4/+4. It is now a 3/3 death rattle. For the rest of this combat, your beasts have +3/+3. Why does all the numbers always have to match up perfectly, it feels like, in some of their things? It doesn't have to have the same stat line. I mean, I'd be perfectly fine if Goldrin was a 1/1 and he could give any amount of buff he wants to give other than like 1/1 and 2/2. Just, I don't understand the synergy of they have to have the same numbers across the board that they like to do a lot. I mean, Goldrin is right now one of the better reasons to play Beast, it's looking like. And now with this nerf, is it anymore? Or did it just make you all want to find Papa Bears? We'll see very soon. Archimon goes from being a tier 4 4/5 to a tier 5 6 7 with the same abilities. This thing, if you haven't played it, folks, is utterly busted and amazing. Moving it to tier 5 is a nice way to nerf it because you just reduce the number of them in the pool. The stats don't really matter because it's his ability you care about. I think I'm still excited to get Archimon, and I think moving him to tier 5 kind of makes sense. Short of nerfing the ability itself, I feel like tier 6 is way too late for what he does, but tier 5 kind of feels like a good fit. We'll see. Hopefully this puts him in a good place. Amber Guardian gets a little bit of a nerf, goes from a 5/5 start of combat, give another friendly dragon +5/+5 and divine shield, to now a 3/3 start of combat, give another friendly dragon +3/+3 and divine shield, which of course was great, still good. You're not really playing it for the stat buff as much as you are the divine shield, but it is a nerf nonetheless, so it is less effective than it was before. But if you're playing dragons, you still want it. You still want the shield. You don't care that much. Prey Felfin, everyone's favorite. I need to cut something. I guess I'm cutting the Felfin. Goes from being tier 5 to 4/4 with the same ability. Felfin. I'm never happy to see it. And imagine you triple into it and you're like, oh, I got a Felfin. It's only good if I triple or discover. That kind of sucks. I think ultimately this is going to be one of those minions that never really shines. Like, it had potential, but you never really discover enough to make it viable because you're always buffing your demons or murlocs more otherwise. So, I mean, maybe this will make it better. But right now, I don't love when I take it, but we'll see. Compared to some other changes we have going on, it's kind of lackluster. Oh, speaking of other changes, yeah, I knew this was coming. Lock Prince goes from being, yeah, you have fun with this, a 3/2 whenever this gains stats, add +3/+2 that amount wherever this is. Reasonable, not crazy. You know, maybe late for what it does, but we'll see. To now being a 2/2 divine shield, whenever this gains stats, add +2/+2 to that amount wherever this is. You heard it right, folks. A Murloc with built-in Divine Shield. Nothing bad ever happened when a Murloc had Divine Shield. Nothing ever bad ever happened when Murlocs had Divine Shield, especially a Murloc that gained more stats when you buffed it. Oh my god. This goes from being a potentially good minion that doesn't see a ton of use to probably one of the Murlocs we're going to see the most of on people's boards, making you despise whoever makes these changes. I'm sorry to them. They made this change. I don't understand why either, because Divine Shield in Murlocs is never a good idea, ever. The Slippery Slider, who just arrived, got changed. Goes from being a 4/5 spellcraft refresh the tavern with 2 extra tavern spells that cost 1 left, to a 5/5 spellcraft refresh the tavern with an extra tavern spell that costs 1 less. Now, I had someone actually just talk to me about this on stream, and they're like, hey, this didn't seem that good. Why are they nerfing it? Why are they changing it? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, because the minion actually didn't really matter. You didn't care about the minion that much. It was all the ways that Naga have to generate spellcraft other than this minion. So you'd get this spellcraft from death rattles, from trinkets, from just random, oh, my minion took damage, so I get things. And you'd get some of these, and they were amazing. The hell, wasting a spot on your board for it when you could just generate them randomly. Oh, I bought a tavern spell that gave me 3 copies of it. I win. It was kind of dumb. And it turned out, yeah, it needed a nerf. And I think this nerf kind of feels good. For a tier 4 spellcraft, this feels a little better. Let's see if this makes the difference, or if we're going to be back here again to address this later. The Salty Looter. Wow. Salty Looter wasn't very good when he came back. Maybe this will save him. Goes from being a 1/1 to a 5/5. Nope. Still going to be trash. Pirates that do summons on combat don't want this on the board. It's too hard to find spots. This isn't worth it. And as much as I love APM Cycle Tethys Pirates, they don't exist. They're so rare that you get to play them. No. This is a filler card that will be removed when the season's over, and sadly, Salty Looter is not going to make a resurgence, is my prediction. What do you think? Putrid Pupil, who I enjoyed, but did feel very slow and not very good because he was slow, just got faster. Went from being a 1/7 after you summon 7 minions in combat, get a random tavern spell, to now 2/7 after you summon 5 minions in combat, get a random tavern spell. My prediction is now this is too good. And here's why. Anytime you can generate multiple tavern spells a turn, the minion's been too good. Let's look at Sporebat. And now you can do that. And I feel like it's too good because tavern spells are too powerful to generate a lot of them. And I feel like this is going to do just that. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong and this is just good and playable now. I'm afraid it just went from a little slow, not super playable, to you must have it. And it gives you so much value in the mid game. You're going to cut it before the game's over, but you're going to make so much value from it, it won't matter. You're going to dominate. Colossus of the Sun, the minion I didn't care about coming back. They buffed it because no one really cared about it coming back, and it goes from being an 8/8 to a 9/9. It's still going to be that triple and a 6 that you're willing to take because not because you actually wanted on your board, but because it's just kind of the best of the worst that was offered to you. Mechanized Gift Horse. They had to nerf. Yeah, because it was too strong. No shit. And it goes from being tier 4 to tier 5. I mean, the problem is this thing's good with resets for your Deflecto. Goldrin. Just summons. Like anything that wants you to summon and have things die avenge. It's too good. This is another card that will be gone at the end of the season probably, that they just brought back because they needed to put something in, but it's too good. And at tier 5, I mean, it's got to be a perfect fit for your board to want it on tier 5. And at tier 4, it was at least a decent minion, but now it's so niche when you find it at 5. Like if you triple this in your 5 and you're not playing something that needs this, like any bad triple, it's just that. It's a bad triple because it kind of fits too much of a niche build. I'm not really happy to see this at 5. The fix was this shouldn't have been brought back in my opinion, but yeah, what can you do? Karmic Chameleon got a massive buff. This is after people in chat tell me this minion's broken and amazing, and I think it's crap, and I never see it on anyone's board. And of course you don't because it changes, but still, I still think it's crap. It went from being a tier 5, 5/8 to a tier 4, 4/6. And maybe now we'll get it early enough where we can do something with it, but I still think this card is kind of crap and I don't care. Other changes. We have a few other changes coming to the Battlegrounds. First, we have Top Shelf. The Dark Moon prize now discovers a minion from a tier higher instead of always a tier 6 minion, but it won't get tier 7 minions on tier 6 unless they're generally in the game. In other words, you're not going to see it because they're not generally in the game. So that is a wording for later seasons. If they bring back anomalies or tier 7 minions come back as a return for the meta, that's what that applies for. You don't need to worry about that. You're basically never going to see tier 7 minions in it in this season right now. Next season, no promises. That's why the change is there. Right now, if you take the Ticketus portrait and it gives you a tier 6 all the time, it feels weird because you get it really early. Now it makes sense you're just getting a minion from a higher tier. Hey, get ready for this one, folks. Maybe heroes and spells you might never take again if you did it all. Galakron's Greed, the hero power, and Token of the Old Gods Trinket have had the updates to no longer say discover. So my question to that is, does that mean every time I hero power, it's just going to give me a random minion in the shop? No more discover? Because that almost makes at least the way people usually play Galakron unplayable. And this spell used to work like that, where it just gave you a random minion when you upgraded it. I don't like that. I think that's basically unplayable. Tier 6 and whatnot is completely bloated with too many shit minions that are too niche for whatever build you're doing to be viable. The Discover made it work. The fact that you just get a random one now means Galakron might work where you're just hero powering all the time to see what random thing you get, but makes this dramatically less effective. From like a solid A tier hero to a D, just kind of crap. Random with the pools as big as they are just isn't great. I mean, if tier 7 comes back, okay, the pool's smallish at least, so you have some value in that, but all the other pools are way too big for that to be valuable. Now, I don't know if this is just, we've just removed Discover, but it still does Discover, but if you took it away, that usually means it doesn't exist anymore, and I think this is a horrible change. Utterly makes them unplayable, in my opinion. What do you think? I think it's kind of crap. All right, folks, that's it. That's all the changes. That's the patch. Has all the information I have now. What do you think? Are you excited? Do you think these changes for the most part are good? There are some wildly good changes in my opinion and some wildly shite changes in my opinion. I don't understand some of these for positive and negative reasons. It is going to be a wacky time. I think this patch is going to see some things really playable and some other things far less playable. But what do you think? But hey, if you like this, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Helps the channel grow. And I'm supposed to keep saying it because if I don't say it, people don't do it. Thanks for watching all. I hope you had a good time, and I look forward to seeing some of your comments about what you think about these changes. I'll see you in the Battlegrounds. Until then, have a good one. Later.